One of the greatest frustrations for me is dealing with founders who don't know that the spotlight is on their sector and they need to sprint, not wait. Capital raising is challenging at the best of times, and the innovation space is very fickle. This whole space loves the latest shiny object. That could be the latest AI enhancement, the latest buzzword going around, the latest sector to focus on, etc. At every different stage, there's always a buzzword, there's always something trending, and there's always something that investors want to get into. So to give you the best case of this, when crypto is on, it feels like the world wants to put their entire money into crypto. Companies raise capital easily. You hear about all the different headlines of how much they're raising. You hear about crazy valuations and all that sort of stuff. You hear about deals being done incredibly quickly. And suddenly what happens is when this is in motion, people start to think this is the norm. There was a great saying by a mentor of mine. He taught me that a rising tide lifts all boats. One of the best examples of this is actually a sporting example. I'm a big fan of the UFC. And 10 years ago, there was a superstar that started entering the arena, and that was Conor McGregor. And one of the things that all fighters said was that Conor changed the pay that all of them received. He was able to create so much attention and buzz that all fighters involved in the UFC started receiving more money, either when they were on his cards or even just in general if they were getting signed to the company. And you've watched the UFC as a company grow massively in valuation over that last sort of 6, 7, even 10 years. So the point of this video is to say this to you. When your sector is on, sprint. When the spotlight is on you, when investors want to know about your business, sprint as hard as possible because it's all too soon that spotlight can be taken away. I've found that this spotlight can typically last anywhere between 12 to 18 months, and the sad part is you never know what is going to be the trigger for it to suddenly disappear. And when it does disappear, you're going to realize that you missed out an incredible opportunity. Let me give you another sporting analogy. Imagine you're a swimmer. If you're a swimmer and you jump in a river and that river is got a current going in the direction in which you're swimming, you take off swimming and you all of a sudden feel like you are the greatest swimmer that ever existed because the current is taking you. Now imagine you're that same swimmer and you decide to go into that same river, and then rather than swimming with the current, you decide to swim against it. How far will you go? That's the difference. Right? The reality is you may not even move. And this is what happens. This is the difference when the spotlight is on your sector, you need to raise as much money as possible, do as many commercial deals as possible, and be as strategic as possible, but you need to aggressively sprint and make sure every single person knows about what you're doing, right? Because that spotlight can disappear very quickly and you never know what triggers it. I gave you the analogy of crypto. Let's look at another example. ESG. 12 months ago, 24 months ago, this was the buzzword around the whole ecosystem. Everyone was focused on ESG related investments. And then in August of 2023, Larry Fink from BlackRock got up and said, we are going to stop using this word because it's become politicized. For me, all of a sudden, that word just disappeared from my daily conversations. Now they've tried rebranding it to the areas like sustainability. And then now all of a sudden it's become popular, that's been rebranded to the energy transition. But what happens is there's a whole bunch of companies that weren't in the energy space that were considering themselves in the ESG space that were leveraging off that. And then all of a sudden that disappeared overnight. So my summary of this video is to you is do not be patient when the spotlight is on your sector. Make sure you sprint, make sure you run really hard because there is a massive difference raising capital when the tide is with you than when the tide is against you.